Hey, John, I got a quick question for you. What comes after Super Bowl Monday?
Hangover. Super Bowl Monday is the day after the Super Bowl, so that would be Super Bowl Tuesday, Brad. You're not going to get me just because it's 7:02 in the morning. It's like your yoke, stop thing.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to fall for that one either.
Never mind. Okay. That is John Combest. Spell his name Combest. I spell his name because you need to type out on your computer or touch your computer, your smartphone screen, johncombest.com. That will take you to his website. He's been doing this for over 23 years. Every single day of his life, he puts together a list of all the important stuff that's going on in the state of Missouri. Nothing fancy. It's sort of like Web 1.0. It's like Matt Drudge all over again, but no ads. You know, John, you need some ads in that site. You know what I'm saying? At least Matt Drudge made it.
It's the first time since October of 2021 that anybody with a brilliant mind has suggested that. Brad, ask me what version of web my website is.
It's, 0.2 or something like that? What is it?
0.0.
0.0. Okay. Anyway, we start the show off with John puts together this website, johncombest.com. He has tons of stuff on there, but he distills it down to what we believe. I shouldn't say it's what he believes is the most important things. We bring in this guy right here. What's his name again?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what do?
Now on with the countdown.
And we start off with?
In third place.
After we got off the air on Friday, St. Louis Public Schools issued their agenda for tomorrow night's meeting. You say, John, what a snoozer. That's boring. I bet there weren't even any good attachments to the agenda we would care about. Au contraire. This story is brought to us by Blythe Bernard from the Post-Dispatch. She posted it Friday afternoon, and I have the story up on Saturday morning. The list of credit card expenses is attached to the St. Louis Public School Board agenda. Miss Bernard does us the favor of going through and pulling out some of the highlights from credit card spending. So to be clear, Brad, these are credit card statements owned by St. Louis Public Schools of the charges that have been racked up on credit cards. They include hundreds of dollars of tickets for the Charlotte Hornets, a lot of restaurants in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then some quote-unquote luxury hotels like the Gaylord in Nashville, Courtyard by Marriott in Seattle, a few other places. When you dig a little bit deeper, like Blythe Bernard did, you see that some of these expenses actually seem to be pretty justified, Brad. That trip to Charlotte, North Carolina, it was for students who were taking part in a national DECA conference. Most folks who went to high school in the 80s and 90s and 2000s will remember DECA. So, Brad, it looks like some of these expenses could be justified. But Miss Bernard points out some ones that are a little bit sillier. Like the board's executive assistant charged $46 for Poplin laundry service, $244 at Jimmy John's. Now, if past is any precedent, I'm sure we're going to get a really good description tomorrow night about why these expenses took place. Why did Shamika need to charge the district for dry cleaning? I don't know. Maybe a student spilled a soda on her, Brad. We're going to get probably a really good detailed explanation tomorrow. And then I would also point out real quickly, Brad, that tomorrow night the district will also consider, they will interview candidates to fill a vacancy. You remember there was a woman named Sadie Weiss who was like, look, I've had it. I'm not getting my questions about these credit card expenses answered by anybody. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm done with this place. So the board's going to review candidates that might take her spot. So Friday news dump, Brad, that included some attachments about credit card statements. And to Blythe Bernard's credit, she linked in her story, the online edition, that you can go through and you can check out the Jimmy John's, you can check out the DoorDash, Nooks on Lindell, Happy Smokehouse, all these totally defendable expenses.
Well, now, John, were these new expenses from the first revelation, or is the?
They are. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, they are. So these are the latest ones that go through December. So, and the other thing, so to Blythe Bernard's credit here, she points out that there's been an overall decline in spending after Keisha Scarlett got thrown out. Now, logic would dictate that after Keisha Scarlett, the former superintendent, got fired, people might be a little more cautious about putting, their vacations and their trips on their school district credit card. And the school district suspended all credit cards in December. So this is pretty much the last gasp, Brad, of these expenses.
See, that's what to me is mind-boggling, and I'm sorry if I ask the question, because just exactly what you said, you would think that if it got to be such a big thing that, oh my God, they're looking at our credit card statements, we have to be super clean, and we're not going to charge anything that would bring any suspicion. They're still doing it, right? At least
that's what it appears. Now, one of the things that's unanswered in the story, you might have better insight to this or a better guess than this, Brad. The question is, I guess the board is supposed to approve these charges. So I don't really know what that means. What does it mean if they don't approve it? Like eventually they have to pay the bill, of course, because somebody's got to pay. This is through U.S. Bank. Somebody's going to have to pay the tab. But if they don't approve the charges, can they go back to the folks that spent this money on dry cleaning, let's say, and say, hey, do you have your receipt? Do you have a reason why you were spending money at a dry cleaner? So I don't know what the board vote on Tuesday will do when they say they have to approve the charges. What do you think that means, Brad?
John, I mean, you worked in corporate America for several years, okay? And I did a long, long, long time ago, okay? I can remember a time when someone, who I shall remain nameless, did some questionable charges on their company credit card, and the company said, give us back the money, and they did repay it. Wouldn't that be the same thing here, where they go to...
Yeah, I guess so, Brad. That's a really good point. I guess they would say it. But, the likelihood, I can't speculate because I've never been to a school board meeting. I don't know. But to me, the likelihood that they're actually going to pinch Shamika Henry and say, you owe us $46, I would think with the makeup of this board, they'd throw their hands up and say, Shamika, you know that credit card we took away from you? Don't use it again. So
did the story refer to how many credit cards that were still out before they chopped them all off?
I don't see it in here. Let me see. Originally, the district had, it's so hard to read this and not laugh. Originally, the district had 21 credit cards.
Holy cow.
And I don't see how many exactly still remain, Brad. I don't see that in the story.
Every time I hear this about the St. Louis City schools, and even like the problem with all the crime in the city, I hearken back to Steve Ellman when on several occasions, and I heard him recently say it again, why do people move to St. Charles County? 2 reasons: good schools, safe, good law enforcement. And it's to the point where you would think it's so simple. You know what I mean? If Elon Musk came out and said, if you want to be a billionaire like me, here's 5 things you have to do. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Some people would take those down, write them down, put them on their wall, put them on their phone, wake up every morning, read that list, go to bed every night, read that list, and become multi-gazillionaires. But the majority of the people would say, I'll never do that, right? You know what I mean?
I think so. And, in defense of St. Louis public schools, Steve Ellman could lecture them all they want about cleaning up schools and
crime.
They
don't listen.
When was the last time Steve Ellman ever enjoyed Pappy's Smokehouse? $905.
Well, now, hold on. There is a Pappy's in St. Charles County. Do you know that?
Oh, where is it, Brad?
It's right across from Mid Rivers Mall. Matter of fact, it used to be the place that was originally when it was built. It was the thing. One of the Lakers players endorsed it. It was one of the. There was this whole fad of fast pizza. 5-minute.
Oh yeah,
pie.
Like Mod Pizza. Remember that place?
Well,
that's still around. Yeah,
they're still around. But there was a place that was endorsed by. It might have been LeBron James. And I've eaten there a couple times and it was good. It's in the same place. In other words, if you're going west on 70, if you get off the Mid Rivers Mall exit and you do like a U-turn there, you go along the North Service Road, which I believe is still West Clay out in that neck of the woods. It's in that shopping center. What's not really a shopping center. There's a couple strips in there, and this is in a strip center, and it's Pappy's West, I guess is what they call it. So Steve Ellman's probably eating there. So
yeah, I guess so. But that's just a good reminder before we get off the air. Remind me to send you my dry cleaning tab, Brad. Because I laughed so hard at one of your P51 Magnum stories that I spit my coffee all over my shirt when I had to take it into the Tide off of Clayton Road.
Okay, can you explain to me, I've seen that as well too. The Tide dry cleaning stores, are they owned by Tide or is that just like a franchise kind of deal?
So the guy will remain nameless. There's a former Republican operative who I really liked, who worked for a long time for John Ashcroft. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I said his name, but I won't say it here anyway. And he owns the one off of Clayton Road. Yeah, it's a franchise. So you could just buy the franchise and use the Tide name. And then you do you run your own, as I understand it, you run your own marketing budget, you run your own ads, and you just use the name Tide. And then, like every dry cleaner, you send it out to, some bunch of Chinese people who wash it and send it back to you.
Well, no, there's two of them on Clayton. There's one on Clayton in Ladue, right in front of Lester's, and there's one out west on Clayton Road.
I didn't know there was one by Lester's. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of the one further out west.
Yeah, okay. And so, yeah, you're saying they don't do their own dry cleaning?
Well, of course. Well, I mean, I'm sure in theory they do. But aren't most storefront dry cleaners? Don't they just ship it to one central place?
Well, not American Cleaners does their own stuff. I mean, I used to have a cleaner. As a matter of fact, if I used it for years on the corner of Page and Woodson. There's a lady there, Ethel's Cleaner, and Ethel was in there herself. Matter of fact, as you went in during the day, you would see Ethel and her sons in there working. And they did all the shirts. Now, I have to tell you, this is Brad the Nerd. Okay, one of my favorite things is I iron my own dress shirts, John.
I'm the exact same way, Brad. I'm a big iron fan, and if I meet somebody who, in the course of getting to know them, and they don't own an iron, I got to be honest. I kind of look at them like the kind of people that don't shine or condition their shoes. It's like, who raised you?
Okay, John. Here's an important question. What brand is your iron? Do you know?
It's a Rowenta.
So is mine.
Yeah, it's top of the line, baby. I'm not going to get some dime store iron that's touching my dress shirts.
I have to be honest with you. I was upset with my one Rowenta. I had it for years, and it supposedly had a stainless steel tank that you put the water in.
Yeah. Oh, no. Don't tell me it started rusting.
It did, and it ruined a couple of my shirts.
Brad.
And, you get liquid rust on white shirts. It don't come out. So
You're SOL.
I thought to myself, I thought this was supposed to be a good Rowenta iron with a stainless steel tank. It was steel, probably with some kind of, magnesium or something like that, or it was coated with something. It wasn't
zinc coated.
Zinc coated.
I remember the story because you said you went back there. You actually purchased it at a little Chinese dry cleaner, but you didn't have the receipt, and they said no tiki, no washi.
Okay, on to number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
Hey, SA, I was pushing buttons this morning and I heard my favorite song on the radio. SA, I got your number. Emotions are so weighty. SA, don't change your number. 370-7080. 370-7080. Brad, I was listening to St. Louis Public Radio. Do you remember that band? They were called Tomas Dostone. Do you remember Tomas Dostone?
Yeah, wasn't that the Ferrari model that had the little slivers in the side? Wasn't that? Oh, no, that was the Di Tommaso. I'm sorry.
No, that was a different one. You're thinking of the El Camino. St. Louis Public Radio's Andrea Henderson. She's the race, culture, and identity content creator. She has a moving story up today that's a story in the public interest. Brad, you like to mock the fact that St. Louis Public Radio has 3,034 people on staff, and the only one that seems to do much work is Jason Rosenbaum. Well, I got news for you, Brad. Andrea Henderson has a story up about a phone number you can call if you spot Immigracion. It's 370-7080. That's right. If you're driving around St. Charles County, St. Louis County, St. Louis City, heck, even freedom-loving Franklin County, and you spot immigration officers, you need to call this number because they're keeping track. It's called the Rapid Response Line, SA. And even better, if you're feeling very scared or, God forbid, an officer from Immigracion pulls you over, talks to you, you can get free advice from a real-life attorney. So just call this number, 370-7080, daily from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And these folks, the La Immigracion attorneys, will help you out. And Brad, they're keeping a database because they want to know where these federal agents are hiding out. Are you going to call them, Brad? You call 911 once a day. Are you going to call the immigration line once a day, too?
Is that a 314 or a 636 number? What's the area code?
It's a 314, SA.
I don't. This whole thing's gotten out of you saw the latest thing that now a judge has essentially said that they can't deport the immigration violators to Gitmo. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that. What a shame. They could have gotten a free trip there. Well, I also have a story up today, too. There's a Maplewood restaurant has announced that they're going to take a full 3 days off.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Isn't this the week that all the Mexican places are shutting down? I thought it was a whole week. Wasn't it this week?
But the best part, this is a KSDK story that I have up today. This particular gentleman, I guess he thinks that a week might be a little bit long, but he's going to participate, but he's bargaining, He's only going to close for 3 days. So that's a quick little siesta. I like that, right? You don't have to lose revenue for a full week, but just take a little 3-day siesta,
I don't understand it. I don't get it. Okay, on to number one.
The number one.
This story is number one in our top 3 today here in A Block, but this is more of a story, Brad, that you would refer to as a, hey, John, did you see this crazy, weird story? This is brought to us by the Washington Missourian, a reporter named Christopher Parker, and it's about a landfill near St. Clair. Did you happen over the weekend to see the story, Brad?
I did not.
Okay, so this is kind of a strange story, or as you would say, a crazy, weird story. I'll try to summarize it quickly. A gentleman purchased a farm. He says it's located between St. Clair and Union, a town called Moselle. Am I saying that right, Brad?
I never heard that before. Do you have the spelling on it?
Yeah, it's Moselle. It looks like Moselle, or it just looks like Moselle.
That's near Crapville.
ahead,
I know where that's at. That's near Crapville.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, between St. Clair and Union. And long story short, he's got a spring-fed creek in like the southern part of the farm that he purchased. And he uses it. He said his livestock eat from there. He uses the water on his crops. Then he started noticing a rust-colored film swirling around the edges. The punchline here is that he lives next to what is an abandoned landfill. It used to be a landfill a long time ago. And in reading the story, this property has been the center of controversy for a long time. Now, this part of it was news to me. You're probably familiar with this, Brad. But I guess this land had been owned by a series of people who had either chosen to purchase it and thought they could clean it up, or just purchase it and then abandoned it, and the county took over. One of those people was the guy that used to run the local trash company, Zycan. Did you know that, Brad? I'm sure you knew that.
I'm North County boy. I mean, we all had Zycan trash service.
Yes, we did. You're absolutely right. I went to school with a Zycan.
Did you really?
So, yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to school with a couple of them, actually, at Larimore. So I guess what's going on here, Brad, just to get to the punchline, is that this gentleman says that he's looked into it, and the Missouri DNR, Department of Natural Resources, according to this gentleman, is giving him the, quote, runaround, unquote. Now, for their part, they say they're building a plan that's going to include all abandoned landfills or derelict landfills, however you want to describe it. And they hope to have the report done within 2 years.
2 years.
Now, they also said that they're meeting specifically to talk about, as I read it, this case. So I would expect this gentleman, now that he's making noise about it, to probably get a little bit more attention from DNR. And also, he went to presiding commissioner Tim Brinker before Brinker resigned to take a new job. And Brinker said, hey, talk to Hawley's office. Josh Hawley's office will probably help you out. Josh Hawley's office sent somebody out, is aware of it. I think they say they're working on it. This is all included in the story. But Brad, where it is today is the woman who actually purchased the land claims that she didn't know that this used to be a landfill. The county says, look, we've always had a note on the property documents that says, hey, used to be a landfill. Buyer beware, essentially. But this woman has purchased multiple properties before. It appears like she should know what she's doing, but there's a dispute whether the county disclosed it or not. So what this seems like to me, Brad, is that this woman purchased the landfill, claims she didn't know it was a landfill. This gentleman purchased the land and claims he didn't know that there used to be a landfill there. Everybody seems to want either the feds, either the EPA or the state DNR to spend some money to clean this up, or else they pretty much can't sell it. So that's the status of it, Brad. Kind of strange to have a big EPA and DNR story and what appears to be a pretty, simple area where a guy's just trying to raise some cattle.
Well, anybody who's bought any kind of commercial property before, and that includes me, you have what they call, are you familiar with what they call a phase one and a phase two? Do you know about that?
No, I don't.
A phase one is where they go in and they essentially do a records check, and that's that, that would come up in a phase one. A phase two is where they actually come out and they do borings, where they bore into the ground and they take soil samples and stuff like that. But in a lot of times, and especially in some of these properties, the bank mandates that. Just like the banks can sometimes, and you're going to laugh when I tell you this, I think I've talked about this before, the bank sometimes will mandate a dead Indian letter. You remember me talking about this?
No, I don't.
You don't know about the dead Indian letter?
No. What is this?
Okay, next break I'll tell you about when I bought a piece of property years ago and the bank said to me, we have to have a dead Indian letter. I thought he was kidding. He wasn't, and I'll tell the story in the next break. Okay, so see, do I have some life experiences or what, John? I'm telling you.
I think so. And so they let's be proper and call it a dead Native American.
Well,
okay?
But the bankers still refer to it as a dead Indian letter. Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be right back.